So who can remind me, guys, what we studied yesterday?
The water cycle.
So water
Water
cycle.
cycle and the air cycle.
Yeah, water cycle and carbon cycle. Good. So yesterday, actually, we start talking about section 1 in chapter 19. We're talking about the cycling of matter, or the natural cycle of the most important compounds. So as we said, we have some necessary compounds that we depend on our life, or there are some elements they found in nature and they must be recycled to be found in usable forms, and to be redistributed in different areas all over the earth till all living organisms can get it. Okay. So we call about water, as the water is an essential compound for the life of all living organisms. So we studied the water cycle. So who can remind, or can to summarize the water cycle quickly for me? What happens? Yes, Laura.
And there are three. There's a process that's evaporation,
So,
and
yep, good.
when it turns liquid into gas, and then there's condensation, and
Yep.
it turns gas into liquid, and the last one is also called precipitation,
Precipitation.
and
Good.
it's when water falls from the clouds to the earth's surface.
Good. So actually, there are three major steps: evaporation of most water bodies. Okay, that's turning water into vapor. That vapor rises up in the sky, then it passes to cold temperature, turn again into liquid in form of clouds. We call this condensation. Then the clouds start to drop this water to the earth. Okay, and called precipitation. What happened to the water that passes to the earth, guys? What would happen? Yes, Hana Yasser?
It becomes a runoff water, which is water after after precipitation.
Yep.
It becomes
So
excess on the ground, it becomes it becomes I mean the next process, and the last one is percolation,
okay, good.
which is the process in which water becomes underground water.
Yep. So actually, once the precipitation happen, most of water are runoff. That means they keep running on the surface of the water, okay, on the surface of the earth. But some of water, okay, passes down to the ground, forming the underground water. We call this process percolation. So percolation. Sometimes we call it infiltration. So whatever, okay, we don't the name, but it means that some of this water will pass underground, and the most will keep running on the surface. Some of them back again to the oceans, rivers, and water bodies, and so on. That's the water cycle here, guys. We said what plants involved in the water cycle, that plants as absorb water, it lose some amount of water in a process called is water.
Mister, can you repeat, please?
Again, the process in which the plant loses water in form of vapor. It's already mentioned in the diagram.
Transpiration.
Transpiration. Good. Okay. So like this, that's the water cycle, or that what happens in water cycle. Then we pass to the carbon cycle, and we said the carbon cycle is very easy. Okay, and we said carbon cycle somehow is associated with oxygen. Okay, so who could tell me how? Okay, or what is the process which capture the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere? Yes, Farah Mahlab. In which process carbon dioxide is captured or taken from atmosphere, turning to other compounds? Yes, Farah?
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. So photosynthesis, that the only pathway in which carbon dioxide is taken from the atmosphere, and it's just convert into carbohydrates in the cells of the plants. Then these carbohydrates will pass to the other living organisms when they feed on it, and so on. But actually, carbon dioxide could return back, or carbon could return back to the nature, okay, or by different pathways. Like, you can tell me. Others, guys, wake up. Adham, Pomika, Dublina, Hanahani, Jenna, just wake up, guys. Okay, Adham,
Okay.
how carbon could return back to the atmosphere or to the nature, okay, after it's trapped by photosynthesis in plant. So what happened? How carbon dioxide could be returned into the atmosphere?
By the respiration of living
So
organisms.
good respiration of living organisms that passes some of carbon dioxide back to the atmosphere. What else is we had? Yes, we had.
Also by photosynthesis.
No, photosynthesis return back carbon dioxide. Does it give back carbon dioxide? Good,
لا
Uta. Thank
by
you.
the
So, what else? Yes, Mahad, what did you say?
decomposition.
Decomposition. Good. We said that after living organisms die, already the carbon is trapped inside the bodies of the living organisms, whatever plants or animals. So once they die, and the decomposers start to break their bodies down, so they return amount of carbon to the soil and amount of carbon dioxide to the environment. The carbon which passed to the soil will later turn to be a fossil fuel. Then this fossil fuel is what would happen? Yes, Uta? Uta, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. بس
So-
الصوت كان بيقطع.
So again, the carbon dioxide which passed underground, it will turn to be a fossil fuel. So later this fossil fuel will be
It will be oil or
good.
coal.
So then we are gonna make a process called
Nitrogen
no,
fixation.
no. This fossil fuel, we are gonna use it and we're gonna make combustion.
Combustion.
Yeah, combustion, burning. We're gonna use this fossil fuel to get energy, so we're gonna burn it. That's combustion actually produces carbon dioxide that return again to the atmosphere. So like this guy, that's here the major steps of the carbon cycle. So like this, we already studied the cycle of water and cycle of carbon dioxide. So there is one of the most important elements which are necessary for all living organisms and considered to be a fellow element because it's necessary to build the cells of all living organisms, which is nitrogen. So today, actually, we're going to talk about the cycle of nitrogen, or how nitrogen is cycled in the environment. Actually, the nitrogen cycle is so exciting because there are a lot of problems, okay, that face, or that's obstacles that face organisms to obtain nitrogen from the nature, but we're gonna see how these problems are solved. Okay, so here, after watching the next video, I need you to answer the following questions. Okay, so what are the here? Okay, first question: what is the main source of nitrogen on Earth? Then, what is the nitrogen fixation process? Then, what is the role of bacteria in nitrogen cycle? Okay. And what is the importance of nitrogen for living organisms? Okay, guys, is it clear?
Yeah.
So, 4 questions, just write them down or just take a screenshot, okay, for these to be able to answer these questions. Are you ready for watching the video? Okay, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, guys. So, anyone can tell me here what the main source of nitrogen on Earth? Remember what you watch of the video, the main source, that means nitrogen is a lot or found in abundant amounts in. Yes, Laura?
Atmospheric nitrogen.
Good, atmospheric nitrogen. Actually, about 78% of the total volume of the atmosphere is nitrogen. So the main source of nitrogen is air or atmosphere. Okay, that's the main source of nitrogen. Nitrogen is not that much in soil, is not that much in water, okay, or actually is not found. So like this, we find that the most source of nitrogen is the air. Good. So then here, pass to the problem. We find that the plant face a big problem, that plant cannot absorb nitrogen from the air. So in that case, it's supposed to get in soil, but actually nitrogen also is too rare in soil. So how this problem is solved? Yes, Mahi?
By the microorganisms.
Microorganism. What microorganism does or do? Sorry.
It gives the plant nitrogen.
How?
Fix
What the process they make? What we call this process? Yes, Hannah Hani?
Nitrogen fixation.
Good, nitrogen fixation. So who can tell me what the meaning of nitrogen fixation? So microorganism like some kind, like bacteria, some types of bacteria, they already make a process called nitrogen fixation. So what mean by nitrogen fixation is Duplina?
It's when bacteria converts the nitrogen to consumable compound.
Yes, it's the process in which bacteria turn nitrogen into usable form or usable compounds that the plant can use. They already use or they turn the nitrogen into ammonia or nitrates, which are compounds that plant could absorb from the soil. So the plant like that, it can get the required nitrogen to be able to do it whatever or to do whatever it needed for it. Also, nitrogen fixation could done by another way, in a state of bacteria, or that's mean just helping bacteria in this, So of course, bacteria carry the higher percentage of nitrogen fixation process, or they do the main rule, in nitrogen fixation, but also nitrogen fixation can happen naturally by the process of Miss Adham.
مستر احنا في question 3 صح؟
No. We're still in question 2.
Oh.
We said nitrogen fixation, already is done by bacteria, or bacteria carry the main
Yes.
role in making nitrogen fixation, but nitrogen fixation also could happen by a natural process like
By natural air, mister?
natural process, natural phenomenon.
Yeah, like photosynthesis process.
No, photosynthesis doesn't produce nitrogen, and the nitrogen is not involved in photosynthesis at all. We said like, anyone know? Yes, Farah Mahlam?
Lightning?
Yes, lightning. We said that lightning also could make we said that actually nitrogen found in form of dicovalent compound, divalent compound, diatomic compound, which is N2. That means two nitrogen are held together by strong covalent compounds. So to break them, we need a very strong energy. This energy sometimes happens by, or they already provided by nature through the lightning, which break the nitrogen part into free nitrogen atoms. So like this, the plant could absorb it or the plant could take it, but actually it doesn't help because lightning is not that often. It doesn't happen all the time. So, but the plant requires nitrogen all the time. So here, that's why we said that bacteria carry out the main rule of the process of nitrogen fixation. Is it clear for you guys?
Yes.
Is it clear like this? So let's try to answer here, what is the importance of nitrogen for living organisms? Why do we, or why we try to get this nitrogen that much, or it's very, very important for us or all living organisms? So who could answer this question? What about the other guys? Could you share, please? Yes, Yusuf? Tell us why nitrogen is very important.
Nitrogen is very important for living organisms.
Yeah, living organisms need nitrogen to make what? To make what? To build what?
As it is a chief component.
So, yeah, okay. So, what do you think? In other words, who can tell me in another words, guys? Yes, who said? Okay, Uta?
Function the cell properly.
So that means to build what? What the compounds that highly necessary or that's mainly made of nitrogen, and
protein.
they are proteins. Good, okay. So actually, protein is made of amino acids, and amino acids mainly made of nitrogen. So like this, we said nitrogen is very important to build protein. As we know, protein is one of the macromolecules which build the cell. Okay, It involved in the structure of the cell membrane, and all the instructions inside the cell is given in form of protein. So it's very, very important. Okay, your muscle is made of protein and so on. So like this, okay, protein is necessary. So that's why we living organisms try to obtain nitrogen or get nitrogen. So like this, guys, we answered these 3 questions. We still have here that question. What is the role of bacteria? Okay, so we said that bacteria at that moment help in making the process of nitrogen fixation. But does it the only role that the bacteria play in the nitrogen cycle? Actually not. So let's continue watching the video to find what is the other role of the bacteria. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, like this, after watching the video, could you now able to answer this question, what the role of the bacteria in the nitrogen cycle? So we just answered, okay, a part in this one. So some bacteria said that they help in fixing nitrogen or turning nitrogen into usable forms in bacteria in soil. We call this nitrogen fixation bacteria. But we still have another type of bacteria play an opposite role. Who can tell me? People who are raising their hands, are you ready, or that's just from the previous question?
We are ready.
Okay, so Otto, could you tell us, please?
Yes, there are some kinds of bacteria that it's called the rhizobium and
no, rhizobium is not a bacteria. We call it the bacteria which do we call it? Okay, denitrifying bacteria. Denitrifying bacteria.
bacteria. Okay.
Yeah. So denitrifying bacteria, what's its function?
After decomposition of animals, it release the nitrogen into the atmosphere.
Yes, so denitrifying bacteria actually are completely the opposite of nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen fixation, they just trap the nitrogen from the atmosphere and turn it into usable forms that's stored in the soil, but actually the denitrifying bacteria working in the opposite way. After decomposition, the nitrogen compounds, okay, which found in soil is going to be break down by denitrifying bacteria to return nitrogen into the form of gas back to the atmosphere, and like this, nitrogen is cycled. So any hard question here, guys? Any hard question regarding to the nitrogen cycle, or any parts not clear? Okay, so let's check here together this part. Okay, so that's here how the nitrogen cycle starts to work. We said that lightning, okay, and some bacteria in the soil, okay, they help in making the nitrogen fixation. That means using the nitrogen from the air to be stored in usable forms in soil. Once it's available in soil, the grass or the plants start to use this nitrogen to build on their cells. Then living organisms start to feed in plants, so also they get nitrogen for their cells. After they die, okay, or after living organisms die, they start to decompose, and once they decompose, another kind of bacteria, okay, they are gonna break down these compounds into gas one more time to return back. So here, this bacteria is known as nitrogen fixation bacteria, while this bacteria is known as denitrifying bacteria. Is it hard like this here? Any hard question here, guys?
No, thank you, Mister.
Anything regarding to the nitrogen cycle? So last thing also, we said that beside the cycle of water, carbon, and nitrogen, actually all the matter in the earth, they are in cycles, or any material, okay, that is already found on the earth, they are cycle changing from one form to another, okay. So the earth, but we just studied these 3 because they are highly connected to the living cells and their structures and living processes, but still some elements also are necessary for the living organism, like calcium, phosphorus, okay, and so on. So we have a phosphorus cycle, calcium cycle, and whatever the other cycles. All these cycles somehow they are connected, because we could find that some compounds they include more than one element, and some of these cycles they already overlapped, as most of these cycles, part of it is done inside living organisms and the other part is done in the lithosphere or the rocks, and another part that done in the atmosphere. So somehow they are connected. That's why somehow in biology we call them biogeochemical cycles, as it's some of or parts of these cycles are gonna meet inside the living bodies, and some of them they are going to meet in the atmosphere on the lithosphere of the earth, okay, and some of them will be involved in a certain chemical reactions, okay. So like this here, we somehow could imagine that Allah already created the earth with a sufficient amount of the resources that needed, or the elements that needed by different living organisms, and these elements somehow keep recycling to ensure that their percentage somehow, or their amount, to be available all the time for living organisms. Is it clear, guys, here?
Yes, Mr.
So any hard question regarding to this lesson?
No, thank you.
Okay, so like this, guys, we already finished the first lesson in chapter 19. Okay, so we end of section 1. Please study it very well. Okay, and happy vacation. Just enjoy it. Try to answer the questions of the section assessment or the section review. We're gonna just discuss after you return back from your vacation. So have fun and good luck. See you soon, guys. Any question?
No, Mr. Thanks.
Thank you. Goodbye.